Hello, Steve White, Trek Boy 89 for Steve Arts 89. Well, gossip on Star Trek is getting a bit thin and a bit desperate. Um, the is it monthly or bi-monthly? The Star Trek magazine, which I don't even know if they call it the Star Trek magazine anymore. It's just Star Trek. They did a cover article on Doug Jones talking about assuming command, and the assumption is that he's now going to assume command on the show. Now, he could be talking about assuming command on the show in season two when he was actually um, acting as the captain. They could be talking about him taking over while the magical Michael Burnham is lost because it looks like a big part of the season is going to be them separated and the crew looking for her, in which case he will be in command. Naturally, when they get her back and she saves the universe because, she's perfect in every way, um, I'm assuming she'll take over command and be the greatest commander ever. Of course, that's how the series will end, with her standing on the bridge, being the most amazing captain ever and better than any captain ever before or after. So I don't necessarily think he's going to be in command of the ship as a whole. I mean, the sort of some people were sort of saying how, well, we don't want Michael to be captain, not because she sucks, but because we want her to keep going on adventures and seeing the story through her eyes, and it'd be hard for her to do that if she was the captain because she'd be stuck on the bridge and so forth and so on. So there's that reason, but I don't think he's going to be captain. I mean, it's all about Michael Burnham. Michael Burnham is the center of the universe. She's the bestest ever. She's just the most brilliant thing ever. I just can't see her giving the role to anyone, especially a male, even an alien male. I just can't see it happening. I mean, it doesn't matter if I think God, what's his name? I've forgotten his name. Well, Doug Jones's character of Saru. I think Saru is the most interesting character and the most Star Trek character on the show. Um, Next to, of course, the actual Star Trek characters on the show, Pike and Kirk. I'm sorry, Pike and Spock, and Number One, who were there visiting from the Enterprise, who are now off on the Enterprise and, God willing, going to be doing Strange New Worlds. They are obviously the most Star Trek characters, but next to them, he's the most Star Trek character. So I think he should be the captain. It just makes sense. Michael she just shouldn't be running a ship. She's too impulsive, too irrational, too emotional. One minute she's cold and logical, the next moment she's just acting like a 12-year-old child in love. It's just she's bipolar or something. I don't know. There's something wrong with that character. You can look at it as just bad writing, or you can actually look at it as deliberate and that there's actually something wrong with the character. But she should not be in charge of a starship. No, never. Well, at least not until she gets some professional help. So I don't see that happening. Now, another couple of things which came up, which I've heard mentioned. Once I hear something a couple of times, I start to take it seriously. Now, something I had heard was that the Twilight Zone, the current Twilight Zone, which I haven't watched because I'm white, um, and Mr. Peel made it very clear how he feels about white people. So I'm like, well, you can just you don't need my money. I don't know if I'm ever going to watch that show because I'm just so offended by his racism. But I like the Twilight Zone, so I might watch it eventually. I just have to find a way to do it where I don't give him any money. And I have done that with a few shows and a few movies. I've managed to watch them without giving, and not stealing, just finding clever, tricky ways to do it. They dropped the whole series as one. It was a weekly thing, I think, the first season. I think after the second season or third season, I don't remember. But either way, the latest season dropped as a whole. And there's talk that Star Trek may drop as a whole as well. And so may Lower Decks. And the thinking is that obviously they know the viewing statistics. If everyone's just waiting till the end of the season and binging it and not watching it week to week, they're better off just dropping it and getting all the press and attention from dropping a series all at once, because you can get a lot more clicks and news from that, I find, than just another weekly series. I don't know how that works, but it seems to work that way. So that's a possibility, but I'm not sure they would do it. I mean, they've sold their shows as a weekly reason you have to subscribe, but if people aren't actually watching it that way, um, yeah, they might do that. That'll be interesting because it would, at least it would be over in one weekend. I can just watch the whole series, not have to think about it, not be tortured by it every week, um, and just get it in and out of my system and gone in a weekend. That would be really nice, rather than having to spend 13 or 14 weeks dealing with Star Trek Discovery. Lower Decks might actually be decent. I don't know. It really just depends on the angle they take on it. What was the other thing? Star Trek Las Vegas is happening. The tickets went on sale. I think they moved it to December. I'm a little bit sad that Creation isn't going to be running it in the future. I don't know what this means. If it's going to run like normal and they're just going to have someone different running it, or how much of a difference that will make. Because I always wanted to go to one of these conventions and I never did. And it looks like they won't be around in the future. And the other thing, Lower Decks is going to CTV Sci-Fi Channel in Canada, which was the channel I meant to mention in my last video when I said they're basically being sold to the same channel that was airing Discovery, but I can't remember what it was called. But that's that. So yes, I don't know about Saru in command. I don't know about the series dropping all at once. I do. Another funny rumor, which Ketwalski was mentioning. Supposedly Kurtzman has been fired, and they're running some sort of campaign where for a charity, and if you win or donate or whatever, you could actually be on Picard. And the talk is that they're actually not doing that for a charity, and they're doing it to actually raise money to make the series because they've got no funding for the series. And like Walsky said, I don't agree with him very often, but yeah, that's a fairly ridiculous rumor. They could never raise enough money from that to fund the show. Now, and using a charity and, embezzling or whatever, I don't really think that's something they're going to do. So it's kind of funny how there's a lot of rumors and a lot of talk that I actually listen to that I find very interesting, and then there's some that's just crazy, and I think that comes out of the crazy bandwagon. But I stretched a lot more out of those couple little bits and pieces than I thought. Already up to nearly 8 minutes. I'm gonna go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Comments are fun. I don't know what's happening with Discovery. I'm caring less and less, and I'm noticing that less and less people are watching my videos and other people's videos as well about Discovery. I don't think anyone really cares what happens. People only care about how much Picard is sucking and can it be salvaged, and if Strange New Worlds is going to be a good thing. Oh, and the other thing that Kowalski mentioned, well, so I've only watched a few videos, I've been busy. There is talk that they were going to, now the Kurtzman's gone, apparently they were going to finally acknowledge discoveries from a different universe, put Picard in that, and make Strange New Worlds set in the Prime universe. I don't know how they're going to do that since they've established it in the Discoverse. I mean, they could use the same actors, but I don't know how they do it without changing the look of the production. And part of the reason why they're doing Strange New Worlds, not just the fans demanding it, also is that they've already got the sets, they've already got everything ready. They just basically have to start filming, and then create the sets for episodes on the episodic level. But the overall, it's all done for them. So I can't see them changing the universe, because that would be changing the visual style of the show, and that would cost money, and that's something they don't have. And that's the really sad thing for me, is that they spent so much money on Discovery, just hundreds of millions of dollars on Discovery, for it to be just trash and a waste of time. And they could have spent that on something really great. And when I watched all the old Star Trek episodes, and some of them really do lack budget, they couldn't do a lot. Now, I think that the storytelling and the acting benefited it because they focus on the story and the characters rather than big scenes. But to have given some of those shows this kind of budget Discovery had would have been amazing. So to give Strange New Worlds the budget Discovery had would be amazing. but I don't think it'll get it. Picard certainly didn't. Picard was cheap as, and it shows so many scenes, so many stories. It's so limited by the budget, and unlike the other shows, the older shows, the stories and acting didn't really compensate for that. And I'm not sure if Discovery, I mean, Strange New Worlds can pull off the same trick. But I really am going to go this time. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Thanks. Bye.